Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA. This is the way.
We want it been.
That's new.
Thank you, Zoom. I just hit record on the meeting and I had a voice that said this meeting is being recorded. I've never had that happen before.
It happened to me too, and you just can't trust you. So I'm glad it's finally telling me that you're recording these, because apparently you have been doing that for months now.
I know, and putting them out on the internet
without my approval. So,
well, I figured when I asked you to do a new podcast with me, and you said yes, I had your approval.
I thought we were just talking to each other and pretending.
Yes, totally.
Yeah.
I just talked to you because I like your voice and your company.
Oh, hello. Hello there.
How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. I got my Starbucks this morning, but I mumbled it.
Uh-oh.
I get my cafe mocha, but I must have mumbled it because they gave me a peppermint mocha, which is just a score.
Oh.
I love peppermint mocha, but I limit it to Christmas time because it's just extra sugar.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so now I have a peppermint mocha. I'm doing really, really well this morning.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Doing a happy dance in my chair.
Yeah, I got to get that extra white girl crazy, right?
Right. My inner white girl.
How's your week been with Star Wars?
It's been good. I've been very excited about this episode because we've been sitting on it for a couple of days. But as far as like what I got this week, I did get a Amazon bent my Greedo.
Aw.
I got my Greedo, my Kenner inspired Greedo Black Series figure, and Hasbro ships it in a Hasbro box, and then Amazon ships the Hasbro box in an Amazon box. And I got my Amazon box and it was fine. Then I opened it up and the Hasbro box was bent, but I got it. And you know, the card's a little bent up, and you know, it's not going to be one of those $300 figures one day. So what difference does it make if it's a little bent and beaded? It's got character now.
There you go.
How about you?
Yeah, I did. What? Hold on, I got to find where I put my stuff. Yeah, I did pretty good this week as far as stuff goes. I picked up those stamps, the May the 4th stamps, the droids. Those finally came in. And then I was talking to Justin, or Justin posted up in the admin chat that, hey, I got an extra 25th anniversary Hallmark ornament. You want it? And I said, wait, let me check with my Hallmark store, because I'd forgotten about it, or I didn't think twice. I'm like, it's a repackage, so I didn't think anything of it. And then when I saw it, I had to have it, so I called my Hallmark store, and they had a couple extra.
What does it look like?
It's just the Falcon. It's a Falcon that I don't know if you remember the talking ones that they had a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a redo of that one, but it's solid, quote unquote, silver.
Oh,
so it's solid metal, and it's pretty heavy, and it's cool looking.
Jeez,
yeah,
solid metal. It's gonna break your tree.
I know. Well, it don't matter because I don't put them on a tree.
That's right.
I keep mine out. Oh,
for those that do, it's gonna break your tree.
Yeah. Well, it's probably just like because they did the one of the Slave Ones is die cast. I think it's Django's Slave One is a die cast, and that thing is pretty heavy.
Yeah, we actually got last year. We got the Legend of Zelda NES game cartridge, which is metal. It's just like you were just saying. It's die cast, and it like kept falling down the tree.
Oh man!
So
that's when crazy. you gotta put it like towards the middle of your tree.
Yeah, yeah. But then you can't see it because it's surrounded by branches. But whatever. That's not a problem. Well, that's not Star Wars. Let's move on.
And then when we were over at when we recorded the second half of this episode at Second Chance, I traded a bunch of stuff in for my wife. Got a Tri-Logo Ewok. I forgot which one it is because I can't keep up with all of them.
Yeah, it's not Wicket. It might have been Tebow if I remember right, but that was a beautiful card.
Yeah.
That was like perfect almost, right?
Yeah, they do have a Wicket in there. When we were in there last night, she was like, "That's my next purchase," and it's like $220, and she's kind of half-ass apologizing for wanting to spend $200 on something, and I'm like, "That's nothing. Don't worry about it."
Right.
So, yeah. Oh, you're sitting down, right?
Yes.
I sold my Boba Fett pops.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I know you didn't do it at Second Chance because they don't do pops. Well, where did you sell that?
I sold them I took them up to Plastic Empire, and they wanted to give me like a quarter of what they were worth. And then I went up to Steel Collectibles, and they like basically doubled up what Plastic Empire was going to offer me.
Wow.
So it still wasn't, short selling them. I was happy with it because I got more than what I had in them.
Yeah.
But, I got about half of what they were worth, which, trying to sell a pop on one of the Facebook groups, these guys, they, if there's a little ding in the box, they don't want them. They don't care if it's a $200 pop. If there's a ding in the box, they just like, I don't want it. Or
I'll
if
give
it's
you
$10.
$5.
Exactly. That's their attitude. And I kind of can't blame them, but they're very particular when they come to pops. And I had the celebration, the blue celebration one.
Yeah.
And he had stepped up his price because he wanted that one. And the only reason I really sold him is I used the money that I got and bought a base cabinet because why not? I'm not playing, but screw it.
Yeah.
I got a good deal on a head, and my cabinet couldn't keep up with the head. So I did some flip flopping and bought a new cabinet that can keep up with the new head. And crap. Well, back to what I was saying. They just keep releasing these stupid things as far as Boba Fett goes. And they're hard to get, the ones that they're releasing right now. So it's like, why keep my Boba Fett collection when they keep releasing them? Plus, at least with Boba Fett, I got so much other Boba Fett crap that I'm not going to miss the pops.
Yeah.
My Back to the Future stuff, there's not a whole lot of Back to the Future stuff out there. So I'm not ready to get rid of my Back to the Future pops yet.
Right.
So because I think I'm going to miss them. But
yeah.
So that's been my week. It's been fun. It was kind of fun. I spent basically all day yesterday going back and forth and dealing with music stores and dealing with one music store, and you're comparing them with another music store, and just wheeling and dealing all day yesterday. I'm
kicking tires and getting rid of my Star Wars comic collection because I have like the first year or two, like I pretty much got them all. But they're just sitting there. So I'm like, do I get rid of those? Do I sell those? Like, what do I do?
Right.
So that's what I've been weighing in the back of my mind.
I think if you're going to sell them to improve your collection, go for it. If you're going to sell them because you need the money, just don't do it. Wait.
Yeah. It's somewhere in between. Cause it's like, I don't need the money, but I would probably put it towards my collection somehow. They're just sitting there, like they're sitting in the corner of my room here, and I don't look at them. I think the only ones I might keep are the Lando ones because that Lando comic is stellar. Mm-hmm. And I think the first 6 issues of, I can't remember if it was Star Wars or Darth Vader, those are stellar too. Beyond that, they're crap.
So you're talking about the new releases, the Marvel releases, or
the Marvel releases, like in 2015 to 16. I think I got out of it around 17, if I remember right.
Wow. Yeah, that's but yeah, I started collecting the comic books, the Marvel stuff, and then my wife looked at me and goes, "You can have toys or you can have comics. You can't have both." So I backed away from the comics.
Yeah, I guess it's a common thing that Marvel does. They'll put their A-list writers on a new project, a new wave, because they'll have like crossover events and major events, and they'll put like their best writers on it for 6 to 12 months, but then after that they rotate and shift writers and the quality does decline.
Right.
And so that happened with the Star Wars stuff, and that's when I got out. When they had Terminator Akbar, I was like, what the hell is this? This is not Star Wars. This is comic books. This doesn't feel like Star Wars to me.
So they put like an animatronic Akbar or
Yeah, it's been a while since I saw it, but one of the villains for Darth Vader competing for the Emperor's sway was this guy who was like half robot, half machine, and he had maybe 3 or 4 different people that followed him, and one of them was a calamari who was like half human, half, or not half human, half calamari, half robot, and it was just like he had a red eye, and I'm just like, this doesn't feel like Star Wars to me.
Right.
And then I got out.
I got out when I realized how much money it would take to keep up with it, because you're having to buy 5 or 6 comics a month.
Yeah.
At $5 a piece, and
yeah,
it got ridiculous real fast.
Yeah. So,
but I did see when I was at IC, somebody had like the first Kanan comic, and it was like $150, and I was like, I need to find mine. I wonder what happened to it.
Excuse me, how much? I have that whole run.
Yeah, he said it was like $150 for the #1 Kanan. Now I don't know if there was something special about it or not.
Well, that's the other thing, because when Marvel would release these #1 issues, there would be like 6 or 7 different variant covers, and some of them are like comic book shop exclusives. Some of them are like online exclusives. There's so much. So it's hard to say like which #1 that was, and some of them were like even blank covers, just white covers. It's crazy.
Well, those white covers, you'd give them to an artist and they color on it. They do art on it.
But if there's not an artist around,
right.
You just got a white cover.
Right.
It's a Beatles album. Here, John, can you paint my Beatles white album?
Yeah.
Speaking of ICCCCC.
Yes.
They announced their dates for next year.
Right.
April 29th, May 1st. And the Emperor himself will be in attendance.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting show, seeing that Celebration also announced their dates, and they're May 29th or 26th through the 29th in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. I think everybody is, because it's a month after Celebration. So people are wondering what's going to happen with IC, if they're going to, they're keeping the dates, but how many people are going to attend and everything. So go ahead. I think it's a cheaper show, especially for us on this side of the country, especially since it's 3 hours up the road versus a plane trip to Anaheim, which that's what's really holding up my Celebration decision. Is I know that plane trip's going to be kind of crazy, and Anaheim's not cheap to stay in, even though that, it's a trip I want to make, but a miracle would have to happen for me to make it to Star Wars Celebration, because it's in Anaheim this year or next year.
Yeah. We'll see.
How's your feelings on them being that close together?
The prices at ICCC were better than Celebration, because I think there's a Celebration tax, which is just astronomical.
Right.
For some of the carded figures, but I mean, Celebration is an experience, and it's more about the community, I think, than anything else.
Yeah, Celebration is cool. Like the room sale at Celebration is amazing. As far as IC was incredible, but I think the room sale at Celebration steps it up even one more notch.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to go to Celebration.
Yeah.
I just need a ticket now. That'll be the tough one.
I think people are, because they moved it around a couple of different times, because they moved it. It was supposed to be in August, and then they moved it up to Memorial Day weekend. So I think that you'll be able to find tickets.
Good.
I don't think it'll be too bad.
Yeah, I'm not buying plane reservations until I get that.
Right.
So, and then surprisingly, Disney released their 4-year consideration for the Emmy Awards, and Gina Carano was on it for Best Supporting Actress.
Right.
Which I thought was interesting, because she's not going to play nice with Disney. She's going to speak her mind. I guess it's a fine line that they had to walk.
Yeah, and is it Disney or is it Lucasfilm, like we talked last time? Who's really controlling Star Wars? Right.
Who knows? But I just thought that was interesting and worth mentioning.
Yeah, and I also thought, I heard rumors, and there again, I didn't, it's just clickbait, so I didn't click on it, but that she's coming back, but is it real or not? And whatever. I don't know.
We'll wait and see.
Yeah. If I want to watch or plywood act, I'll go in my backyard.
Well, it is in universe because Anakin's performance in Attack of the Clones, or Hayden's performance in Attack of the Clones, is pretty much the same.
Right. Well, I've also heard that's sort of George Lucas's fault because
Yes.
because of the writing was quote unquote so bad that if they
Yes.
would have had a seasoned actor in there, because I also heard that Leonardo DiCaprio was up for Anakin.
Yes,
And
he
if-
was.
So if they would have had Leonardo DiCaprio, he would have had the wherewithal or the pull to say, "Hey, George, this sucks. I'm going to do it this way," and maybe we would have had better acting in the prequels.
Also, that kid from Cruel Intentions, who was married to Sarah Michelle Gellar for a while, was up for Anakin too.
So, yeah, maybe that's why George Lucas can't write. But I don't know, or can't write, direct, or you don't know until you see it. But,
Yeah.
But
Ryan Fleet was his name, by the way.
okay.
But yeah.
But while we're on just announcing shows, Joe Fest is June 25th through 27th in Augusta. And I know it's a G.I. Joe show, but I was talking to the Second Chance last night, and they were saying that they heard that Joe Fest was better than Toylanta as far as toys go.
Oh, well, maybe we'll take a day trip.
That's what my wife was saying. I was like, I want to get if we're going to go, I want to get a hotel room because, I mean, it's only 2.5 hours away, but I don't want to stay till 7 or 8 o'clock at night and then have to drive home.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
Yeah, I think we may end up doing it because, all of a sudden stuff's happening and travel, everything's opening up and it's time to do stuff again. And I think we're trying to make up for stuff.
Time.
And I think it's funny, speaking of my, I'm not, here's why, all right, going back to Celebration and it being in Cincinnati, it being in California and my wife telling me I really can't go because of blah, 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 blah. Faith No More announced that they're playing Riot Fest in Chicago in September. And my wife's like, let's go. So when my wife's like, let's go to Chicago and see Faith No More, but you can't go to Anaheim for Celebration, I'm not going to really gripe too bad. I may hem and haw, but when it's it's kind of it's a give and take. So I got to take it.
Guess so, yeah.
I'm not going to complain because we had tickets for Faith No More when they came. They were going to come in August of 2020, and they canceled that show, and we got incredible seats, and that was a bummer, man, because they're one of my favorite bands. I mean, it's the reason I play bass is because of Faith No More.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean it's that
it's a big deal for you.
Big deal for me, and so it'll hopefully be cool, or we'll figure something out. But yeah. Oh, go ahead. No. Walt Disney World.
Yes.
Selling Leia Saber separately.
Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, and Rey's saber.
Yeah, the new saber that she ignited at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Rey Skywalker. Should be Rey Palpatine.
Or Kenobi.
Hello, that.
It would have been so much better.
They're selling Dio too.
Yeah.
At the Droid Depot for $109 if anybody cares.
Yeah. And that's I guess that adds more playability or more, if you're going to pay $109 for Dio, just go build a droid for the same price.
Go invest in Dogecoin or something. Dogecoin.
Whatever the hell that stuff's called.
It's a slow news week. I saw that the vintage collection Echo is the only new thing that's sold out on Hasbro Pulse. So that one's going to be tough to find. So if you see Echo in the store, grab that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also just back on Disney, as long as you're outside, you don't have to wear a face mask. They're lifting the face mask ban at Disney. Yep. So that's a step in the right direction. And the Universal's done the same thing. And apparently they're raising the capacity because I saw on Tower of Terror, they took the plexiglass down and they're loading everybody, every seat now. And like at Animal Kingdom with the Lion King show, it's now they're just doing 3 feet between groups of people. So it's starting to come back. So hopefully your September, October trip will be cool.
I hope so. Well, I'm just going to wait 2 weeks to see if there's a spike in COVID cases.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting.
I think as long as everybody is doing their part and, you know, getting vaccinated and everything, and I think it'll be fine. But you have to trust people too. So
If you go on to Shop Disney right now, there's a Book of Boba Fett t-shirt available. It's just the title, but it's just on a shirt. It's like the first official merch for Book of Boba.
interesting. Did you see the Hallmark release of the ornament of Boba Fett?
Yes, that's a must-have.
Yeah.
Sitting on his throne. Game of Thrones style.
Yep. I always pick up 3 or 4 every year.
Ornaments or the same?
Ornaments.
I always pick up 3 or 4 Boba Fetts every year.
Yeah, well, if they're going to release a Boba Fett, I have to do it. Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go.
No, go.
No, I don't know
change subjects.
Change your subject, because I was just going to do my normal tagline. So
the crew of the Halcyon has been released. So Disney's looking for the certain specific roles for the basically like the performers that you'll interact with on the Halcyon, which is the Star Wars Hotel at Disney World. One of them is a captain. They're seeking a mature, commanding actor with strong improvisational abilities to portray what is going on with my lips right now. The captain. They're saying a she is a worldly Pantorian, which is the same character that the same alien species George Lucas portrayed in Revenge of the Sith. So it's like a blue-faced person. So whoever they hire is going to have to come in an hour early to put makeup on. So that's dedication. Then they'll have to take the makeup off.
Be a fun time at the Star Cruiser. Plus, they're doing a whatever species Ahsoka is. They're doing one of those too, right?
I don't know. So I guess the only thing the captain, just to finish up the captain real quick, needs to be charismatic and well respected. And so whenever she walks into a room, everybody just kind of looks at her. So looking for somebody strong for that one. Let's see. The Fixer, seeking a confident and engaged actor with strong improv abilities to play the Fixer. Character portrayed as well-traveled, devil-may-care human in the 40s. A convincing and handsome character, he uses his charm to his advantage and seeks out associates to enlist his criminal enterprise. But it sounds like, go ahead.
You know, I think that'll be cool as long as it's not, you know, hey, let's squat behind this tree while the First Order walks by.
Yeah. Actor with slight hand of tricks, a plus, and are encouraged to prepare a demonstration of abilities. So I think what's going to happen, Disney, and I heard this on the Disney Dish podcast with Jim Hill. They were talking about how Disney filed a patent for an algorithm that determines like guest interactions with cast members. So if you're scheduled at 4:00 to do saber training, for example, it's 2:30 and you don't have anything to do, this algorithm will say this family needs something to do, fix them, send them to the Fixer, and you go to the Fixer, and the Fixer will be like, hey, look, we need to get information from the gentleman in the bar with the, I don't know, flower on his vest. So it's your job to go into the bar and try to find that person and talk to them, get some information and really work it, and then go back to the Fixer and, hey, it's 4:00 saber training.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of things that these character actors are going to have to do.
Right. Well, I mean, they've got 2 days worth of full on 24 hours of 2 days that they have to fill. So
right.
Yeah. And the more I read into it, the more I listen to it, the more I hear about the Halcyon, I'm like, I got to do that. Cause yeah, I really wanted Galaxy's Edge to be what the Halcyon is proving to be.
Right. The thing that's really starting to bug me with this Halcyon is the cost. It seems like this is just super expensive and a cash grab.
Oh yeah, it's Disney. They're going to grab your cash every time they can.
It just bugs me that there's a paywall, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's 4 more roles. I'm not going to get into each of them. The saber trainer is somebody in their 20s and 30s. They're patient, well-composed instructor. They need to be athletic. This was called out. Unlike the other ones, only talent local to Central Florida area will be considered. So I just thought it was interesting where they're willing to find people outside of that, outside of those outside of Central Florida for the other roles, but the saber training in specific needs to be an Orlando resident.
That or you move or fly in or something.
Right. Cruise director, first order lieutenant. So I'm sure the first order will make their presence known at some point during the 2 to 3 day mission in space. And then the ship mechanic. So I think at some point, one of your missions might be, hey, we need some help in the engine room. Go fix it.
Right.
I wonder if it's going to be like one of those, what do they call them? Escape room kind of scenarios in the engine room.
That would be fun. I've also heard rumors that the engine room's just going to be open and you can go in there, and explore and stuff. But yeah, that would be cool having an escape room or, they're going to have stuff to do. I've also heard that at some point the First Order is going to attack the ship. So you need to, I guess they're going to train you and show you how to do all this stuff. And then at one point during the trip, the First Order attacks and you have to defend the ship.
That'd be cool, yeah. And they'll probably, if we're looking for a First Order commander, they're probably going to board the ship, or they're going to have some sort of live interaction on a panel or something.
Yeah,
a TV.
They're also looking for Rey and Kylo. So that right there tells you that what's going to happen.
Yeah,
it's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be cool.
Oh, and have us nerds that can just get into that world for 2 days. It'll be amazing.
Yeah. It's going to be a little too unreal.
Yeah. You're going to have to just suspend reality like you do at the lightsaber training. You're just going to have to freaking go for it. Yeah.
Just forget the real world for 2 days and just live in Star Wars.
Yeah.
I want to be a Star Wars.
Yeah. I am Star Wars. That was my bad whatever dude from Simpsons impersonation.
Oh, I thought you were doing the Emperor. I am the Sith. I am Star Wars.
That's how bad my impersonation was.
Who are you trying to do from The Simpsons?
Ralph. I'm Star Wars.
Oh. I bet my Wookiee. That's where at the start of this episode, I said Amazon bent my Greedo, and that's where I was trying to. I don't know if that communicated across or not, but that's where I was going with that.
Oh, shit. It's been a minute. I haven't watched Simpsons in forever.
No, I haven't either. I gave up like season 16, so that's like half the show that I've watched. I go back and watch it.
Yeah.
There's some classic episodes. As far as the market watch this week, it's all about Akbar. Mint on card Akbar from 1983. It had some yellowing to it. It was $83 that was sold for on eBay. Unpunched with 40 bids, it had a clear bubble. It was $257. So that's a pretty wide range. Typically, It's like within $50 or so with the low and the high, but that was pretty wide.
Mm-hmm.
Vintage collection Akbar is $42, but they have a re-release coming out right now, so that will probably drop even more. The Force Awakens Akbar was selling for $19, and then the Black Series Akbar was selling for $15 to $16, which is less than retail.
Wow. No love for the fish.
Yeah, the Mon Calamari.
And you would think,
one of my favorite puppets from Return of the Jedi.
Well, you would have think with them making a return in Mandalorian, that would have, even though it's not him, maybe people would have wanted that character.
I do want that character in the sweater as a Black Series figure. I know I'm being ridiculous.
Well, they do everything else in Black Series, so why not?
Why not? Before we jump into our interview, I just had a couple discussion topics that I thought would be interesting for, they're trying to redo the 96 for the vintage collection.
Mm-hmm.
That includes Anakin. So which version of Anakin do they do? Do they do the new version, or they do the old one that for the figure, so it's closer in line to what the original 96 were? Do you know what I mean? Like, do they do the Sebastian Shaw, or do they do the Hayden Christensen version of Anakin?
I really think they're going to do the Hayden Christensen version because of what they did to the Return of the Jedi.
Or do they have like some sort of celebration or Comic-Con exclusive old version?
That would be fun if they did that.
There's just an interesting kind of idea that popped in my head when I was looking at all the figures that they have left.
Right.
And then as far as the retro collection, I mean, there's an opportunity there to make some of the old Kenner ships that we never got, like the Tennessee 4.
Yeah.
So that would be great if they did that. Nobody from Hasbro listens to us, but
You never know. I think we had one pop up in Cincinnati, but Hasbro's not in Cincinnati, so never mind.
no, but I'm talking like mass production.
Yeah, no, I
Not
feel
the
you.
prototype, yeah.
Yeah, because they did make a prototype of it.
Yes. And I've seen photos of that. That's why and I've seen 3D prints of it too. People have printed their own Tennessee 4.
Right. Yeah, it'd be fun because I mean, they can do it sort of like they did the Falcon, where it doesn't have to be full size, but you can have one or two figures that go in the front of it, and there's no way they can make it full size because it'd be huge. But you could definitely make it, playable, get some playability out of it.
And then Bad Batch episode 3. Did you watch that one?
I did. I was. I don't know how to. I think it was another filler episode, but I think they're starting to do stuff.
Yes.
To where it's, you're going to have 30 or 20 minutes of content, but like 5 minutes of it, if you miss that 5 minutes, you're missing something really cool.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because Tarkin insinuates that the clones were too expensive.
Right.
And I'm like, why are they shutting it down? Where's the money going? And it clicked that they're transferring funds to the Death Star.
They're doing everything for the Death Star.
Yeah. So
but
that's why the clone program is shut down, and that's why they're recruiting new people so they can divert funds.
Right. But you're still paying, I guess maybe because you're on the front end, you're not paying to produce the clones, but you're still having to pay the same thing on the back end as far as taking care of people and housing people and feeding them and everything. But yeah, it was kind of funny. Not funny, but it was interesting how the people, they accomplished what the clones couldn't. And but I thought it was odd that it was Clone Force 99 that he was comparing the people to, but he should have been comparing a normal clone team, not Clone Force 99, because Clone Force 99 is just a different breed. If that makes sense?
Yeah. Yes, it does.
And then they still, and I'm kind of curious what's going to happen, because you could tell those Kaminoans, they're getting ready to do something, or they're going to try to ambush or sabotage the humans or humanoids.
Yes.
To see what, so there yet again, there's another layer to the show.
Right. They seem the Kaminoans, those that live on Camino are very proud, it seems, and they love their work. They're very proud of their work, and they're kind of miffed that all of a sudden that their hard work is being shut down. But there was also some interesting discussion about how the DNA wasn't as strong of Django as it once was.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are they going with that?
It'd be maybe young Boba Fett will show up, or well, they don't know where he's at, or he's running around the galaxy somewhere.
He was in Solo for 3 seconds. Not even that, 3 frames.
Really?
Yes. That's the speculation. There's a shot in the part where they meet Lando for the first time, and there's those 2 droids that are fighting, and L3's trying to break up for droid rights and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
Han Solo is kind of standing in a hallway, and behind him there is a helmet with like a white, it's like a feather boa, but it's not. It's like I would say it's more like a wampa skin around his neck. And supposedly, because if you remember, that was supposed to be the Tin Cup movie that, what's his face, that did Chronicle. Anyways, one of the directors that they decided to let go, he was supposed to do a Boba Fett movie, and it was all supposed to be like interconnected. So I think Alden was supposed to be in the Boba Fett movie, and Boba Fett was snuck into this. So allegedly that's Boba Fett in the movie.
Well, I'll have to go to Disney Plus and pause that part.
Or you can just Google Boba Fett Solo movie.
Oh,
You'll
yeah.
see the screenshot.
Well,
Save you some time.
Yeah, let's Google. Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know where I'm going with that. We're about to go into the interview, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to thank Jordan Gasly for the review on iTunes. Really appreciate that. Jordan is a friend of the show, so check out his YouTube channel. He goes to Disney a lot, and he checks out Galaxy's Edge. And if you're looking for a different perspective, go ahead and check that out.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Yeah, I'm trying to find it, and it's not coming up very well. I don't know. It's it's like a very weird looking pixelized picture.
Yeah, it's not the best. I mean, like I said, it's 3 frames. He's just blurred in the background, but again, it's supposed to be Boba Fett.
Right.
I just want to say I really enjoyed this conversation you're about to hear from Chance from Second Chance. His dad, David, was very reluctant to speak on the mic, which I think was our loss because we ended up talking to him for another hour after we finished up, and he had so many good stories to tell, and it was just so much fun. And then you were there yesterday for 3 hours talking to them.
We went, we were at dinner last night, and we were talking. I was talking with my wife about the interview, and talking to Chance, because Chance had mentioned how often my wife and I go in there, and I'm like, dude, we're like in there like 2-3 times a month. He goes, you're in here like once a week. I'm like,
he got us.
Okay, sure, whatever. And then my wife goes, we have time. They close at 7, so we finished up dinner and ran down there. We got there about 6:30 and left about 9 o'clock last night.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, I love the stores. I love the store. I love going in there. I love when Chance knows our names. We could sit there and talk to him for an hour or two, and he doesn't care about us purchasing anything.
Yeah.
And they do have plans. We were talking last night. They have plans. They've rented the booth next to them, and they've got plans to do because they've offered the booth for our meetups and stuff. And they want that to be like a pop culture center, that strip mall they're in, because there's also rumors that there's a theater in there, and there's rumors of somebody looking at that theater to run old school movies.
Oh, I would love that.
So you could
I wish I had the money to do that myself.
Right. So there's Dr. Knows, which is a comic book shop. There's the toy store right there. There, and then could be a old school movie theater sitting right next to it.
Yeah.
So you could go spend the afternoon there and just be in geek heaven. Yeah. And I really think, hearing their plans, that they're kind of going to have a little bit of a hangout space or have some more hangout room so that they can turn Second Chance into a destination stop where, people go hang out for the day or hang out for a couple of hours and then, just talk toys, talk Star Wars, talk whatever. So I'm really looking forward for what the future holds to the store. They're both good guys. David will talk your ear off, and it's good conversation. And then they're both genuine people, because he looked at us about 8:30 and he's like, you guys have dinner? And I'm like, yeah, we already ate. He goes, oh, y'all suck. And, cause he did the same thing when we did the interview. He was like, you guys hungry? Or hey, and they're just genuine good people. And
yes.
We really needed a store like that was toys in this area. And I turned to my wife and I'm like, this is what this area needed, was something. And this is what I needed, or somewhere I can go hang out and just talk toys for an hour or two.
Yeah.
So yeah, check them out. Go ahead.
They've seen amazing growth in 3 months, where they're talking about expanding already. And I hope that they stay a staple in the community, because they're 5 minutes away from me, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And, hope they're here to stay. I appreciated their story. They have a very touching story on how they started the business. It's a great father-son relationship story as far as what they present, and how they talk about the collection. I don't want to spoil things because I want you to experience it, but how they talk about the shop as their collection was just an amazing perspective as well.
Right. So yeah, we'll go into that right now. This is Glen and Jason with the Smugglers Galaxy podcast. We're sitting here with Chance. Chance, what's your last name?
Sadler.
Sadler of Second Chance Toys. David's in the back eating a sandwich, so he'll his dad David's in the back eating a sandwich. So if we got a question, we'll yell and have him come out and answer it for us. But we wanted to sit down with him for a few minutes to pick his brain, see why he started the toy shop, and how's he enjoying it, and how's things been the last 3 months since y'all have opened?
Yeah, it's been a little over 3 months. I'd say 3.5 is probably a good estimate.
Yeah, well, y'all have definitely made your name known in the collecting community of Marietta, Georgia.
Well, we've certainly tried, that's for sure.
Yeah,
kind of crazy how quickly you guys have grown and become kind of famous in the group.
Yeah, it's a little a little wild thinking about it. So we have quite a few friends of the shop
Already.
Yeah, already. And we had one guy that came in here and immediately fell in love with the store, and he was gracious enough to share us with his Facebook community. And then we had a gentleman come in here. His name's am I allowed to share?
Sure.
Names? Okay. His name's Martin. And he shared us.
Yeah, Martin with Toylanta.
Yeah,
Or not with
exactly.
Retroville.
Yeah. He shared us amongst his group of people, and then they all came in here because he came in here not expecting much, I assume. And then when he walked in, he looked at me and he was like, "Oh, you guys actually have a store here?" And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, that's the goal,
Right?"
So, yeah, that was pretty cool. And then we had YouTubers come in here from all over the country.
Oh wow!
And they film, so we're on there, and to have that kind of exposure within 3 months of opening is pretty wild. And we've really taken off, and it's been really awesome so far. I've enjoyed it. It's been great. So
awesome. So
why did you open a toy store here?
That's a pretty good question, and everybody asks it. So my dad actually had a store in Jacksonville, Florida for the past 8 years. And when I graduated with my master's in business, he asked me, "What do you want to do?" Which is kind of an impossible question to answer. I never really imagined doing anything other than playing in the NFL, as every athlete does.
Right.
So when I was no longer able to do that, I kind of lost hope, and I was like, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then so when I graduated with my master's, and he gave me that call, I told him, well, I don't know. It's pretty costly to start anything. And he said, well, if you didn't have to worry about the backing, if you didn't have to worry about the finances, like what would be your dream job? And I told him that I wanted to open a toy store. And that's what he did. That's what he did in Jacksonville, Florida for 8 years. So every time I go visit family, I would go work with him in his store, and I loved it. I love the environment. I love toys. And I'm very surface level, but I'm a quick learner. So I told him that's what I wanted to do. And he said, well, would you want to do it with me? And I said, absolutely. Like awesome. I wouldn't want to do it by myself, or with anybody else. That's not really the goal. So he packed up within 5 months and moved up here. We got a house together, and then we opened this, and it's been fantastic.
Awesome.
I've loved it. Yeah, it's been awesome.
That's an incredible story.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Awesome.
Whenever I tell people that, it's they're always like, "Oh man, that's it's a lot more than I was expecting." 'Cause, a lot of people would like to open a toy store. I imagine.
Right.
But it means a little bit more with me, and the reason why I want to do it. So,
right.
Yeah. Pretty great.
Awesome. Is there any significance to the name?
Yeah. So
well, other than your name, but yes.
Well, so it's really a play on words and two different meanings. My dad asked me what I wanted to name it, and for my thesis for my master's program, we had to do a business plan, and I did a business plan for a toy store. I had already had background and experience in it. So I had already done the research and all that kind of stuff. Research, I say loosely, because I've lived here my whole life, and there really wasn't much research to be done. The North Atlanta needed a resale place.
Yeah.
So there really wasn't a lot of research that went into it. But I had come up with the name Common Collections for my business plan. So he asked me a name for the business, so I threw out, how about Common Collections? And he said, I don't know. And then he came back to me like a week later, and he was like, well, how about Second Chance Toys? And when he told me that, I kind of immediately fell in love with the name. I thought it was awesome. I thought it was really cool. And then I asked him, or I assumed, well, it's obviously because everything in here is second. Everything is getting a second chance, or a third, or a fourth, whatever. It's a resale, so everything in here was previously owned. So I thought, Second Chance, that makes sense. And then he was like, well, but that's also your name. And I was like, Oh yeah.
It
Yeah.
clicked.
It's my name.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then so it turns out that most people actually get that being the name for the store coming from my name rather than everything in here getting a second chance. And so everybody kind of assimilates with that. And then they meet me and they hear my name and they're like, oh, it makes sense.
Right.
It's completely makes sense. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Perfect name for the
Awesome.
store. What do you collect? What do you guys collect?
Well,
What's at the home collection? Nothing?
that's funny. So my dad, when I was growing up, I'm only 24. I'm going to be 25 in December. When I was growing up, my dad was a collector at heart. He collected first. And it was really like a monthly thing. So like every 6 months he would move on to collecting something new. So for example, he collected every single Batman animated series figure for 6 months. And when he realized like, oh, I have everything, there's nothing else for me to get, he would be like, okay, well, let's go ahead and sell this collection and then move on to the next one. So it'd go from Batman animated series, and then the next 6 months it would be Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and then the next 6 months it would be every red line he could get his hands on, and the next 6 months, and then it kind of just escalated to the point where when he moved to Florida and he opened up his store, like he realized that, toys are a really good moneymaker. So that's when he stopped collecting as a whole. So if you went to our house, he does not have a collection. The store is our collection. And he's prideful of it and he enjoys it. He likes looking at it while it's here, but the whole purpose of it is for it to go to a new home. It's meant to be enjoyed while we have it, but the whole entire goal is to see somebody walk out of the store with a smile on their face. And that's really what does it for us.
Right.
I'd be a fool if I told you that I was in it for the money. I'm not. I mean, making money is cool. It's great, but that's not the end goal. I mean, I like making people happy.
Right.
That's what really does it for me. In terms of his collection, he doesn't have anything, but I collect Star Wars Lego.
Okay.
I actually have and had a large collection of toys in general. I grew up collecting vintage Star Wars. I collected a lot of 3 3/4 Hasbro.
Yeah.
But when I got into Star Wars Lego and I realized that it was incredibly expensive,
Yes.
I decided, well, maybe I should just stick with Star Wars Lego, and I've amassed a pretty big collection. Unfortunately, since we moved into a new house, none of it's up yet. It's not.
Boxes.
Yeah, it's all in boxes, and it's all just kind of jumbled together. Hopefully, I'll get it done, and when I do, I'm definitely going to let you guys know because I'd like for you to come in and take a look at it because it's really neat. It's awesome. It's what I love to collect, and kind of on the same board with him now. Everything in here is my collection, our collection. While it's here, I love looking at it. I love having it. It's great. But if it's going to sit at home in a box and not be appreciated properly and displayed, then what's the point in having it at home?
Right.
So the whole goal is for it to go to somebody else that's going to enjoy it just as much, if not more, than we do. Yeah.
So what trends are you seeing in the store? What's selling? What's kind of staying behind?
Oh, man. So when we first started, it was pretty slow for like the first 3 weeks or so. And then to my surprise, and I'd guess to my dad's surprise, Transformers just absolutely took off. And everybody would think like, oh, it's the G1 stuff or G2, G1, G2 stuff that's like the big seller.
Mm-hmm.
It does not move for us. Like we've sold maybe like 4 or 5 G1 pieces since we opened 3 months ago, but we've sold probably 1,000 loose new pieces.
Wow.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow. I would not have expected that.
We didn't either. It was crazy because going down to his store in Florida, Transformers wasn't a gigantic seller. I mean, it moved, it sold, maybe like 5 pieces a week kind of thing. But here it's like 25 pieces easily a week, just like leaving the store.
Wow.
It's been wild. So, that really took off for us and that was a blessing. And then Transformers a little bit has has slowed down, but wrestling is another huge item for us, and it's pretty consistent. I guess because Atlanta is like the mecca of WWE and Raw and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, WCW was Ted Turner.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I didn't realize that. I'm new to the area. I've been here for about 2 years.
That wrestling has took off and it's been consistent, and people are always coming in here looking for it. And even the higher dollar wrestling stuff, like people have no issues. They're like, "Yep, let's get that because I want a 1992 Hasbro Hulk Hogan. Like, I want 1988 LJN Macho Man." Like people go crazy over it, and it's really cool because I like when people come in here and I can see what they collect. Because I assimilate with them as a collector myself. Like, oh, if you're into this, like, we'll try and attain more for you. So it's really cool. So Transformers Wrestling, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, TMNT is crazy. And it doesn't matter. It can be the vintage stuff. It can be the TV show stuff. It can be NECA, whatever it is, doesn't matter. TMNT is crazy. People love the higher dollar TMNT. It's pretty wild. Let's see, vintage Star Wars. Vintage Star Wars is a pretty big item.
He says that as we're sitting in like surrounded a U-shaped thing. Actually, it's 4 walls surrounded by vintage Star Wars. It's just everywhere. So yeah, he has a little bit of it.
Vintage Star Wars is a pretty big seller, and it kind of took a while for it. You know, vintage Star Wars is my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing in the store. I grew up as a collector, and people think I'm naive, don't know anything about it, and they look at me funny because I'm only 24, and I tell them that I collected vintage Star Wars, and they're like, "Oh, you can't be a Star Wars guy." I have people come in here every day, and they're like, "Oh, you're a Star Wars guy? It's not possible." And I resent that statement. Star Wars was my first love. My dad introduced me to it when I was born. I wasn't old enough to see it in theaters when Phantom Menace came out. I was 2, but when Attack of the Clones came out in 2002, that's the first thing that we went to go see. And I remember it vividly. It was incredible. So Star Wars has been my favorite thing since I was born. I mean, it was my first love. I love it to death. My dad likes to tell people that I'm a walking encyclopedia, but it's impossible to know it all.
Right.
Even George Lucas doesn't know it all. I hate to name drop George Lucas on here, but yeah, even he doesn't know it all.
Right.
Like it's impossible. You can't. But vintage Star Wars is a big seller for us, and it's my favorite thing in the store. And like I said, I'm pretty service level when it comes to it, but I'm a quick learner. And when it comes to like variants and different countries variants and all that kind of stuff, like I'm learning steadily as it comes in the store. But I would say that vintage Star Wars is a pretty big seller. It started out slow, and I was like, man, what's the deal? We have great stuff. Why aren't people coming in? I guess the word just hadn't gotten out.
Right.
But then when one guy came in here with vintage Star Wars, the next time it was 3, the next time it was 10, and it just kind of like, rolled. And so vintage Star Wars, you can never have enough of it.
Right.
It's a staple. Everybody loves it. It's just like G.I. Joe. Everybody loves it. Everybody's going to be searching for it. And it's pretty crazy. Other than that, pop culture items have taken off, like TV and film stuff. Dukes of Hazzard, Terminator, Alien, Predator, really any 70s to now TV and film items have really been a great seller for us. It's something that we're always on the lookout for. It's great when people come in because we do buy sell trade. So it's great when people come in with stuff that they're looking to pass on down. And stuff like that happens to be in there. It's fantastic because for some reason it's just like we can't keep enough of it. Right. It's wild. So almost as soon as we put it in the shelf, it's gone. So yeah, pop culture has been a pretty big seller for us. As far as like the heavy hitters go, I would say that Marvel Legends have been crazy. People go nuts over those, and it's wonderful. Because I like new and old stuff. Obviously, I appreciate vintage more so than the newer stuff, just because it's although I didn't grow up with it like you guys did, it's still nostalgic for me. Because I know how it makes you guys feel. So whenever I would get my hands on it growing up, it was great. But I have an appreciation for the newer stuff too, because the articulation and the detail and all that kind of stuff, they've really outdone themselves with what they put into the figures nowadays. So Marvel Legends have gone crazy, and I love them. They're great. I mean, I took basically an entire Monday, which is the day that we're closed, which for everybody listening, we're not closed, or we're not off on Mondays. We're closed, but we're not off. We're always doing something for you guys. So Monday, I took basically an entire Monday to price out all of the Spider-Man related Marvel Legends that we had. And I made a whole diorama and display up in the front of the store in a case. And I didn't really do it because I thought like, oh man, this is going to look really cool. I did it because everybody that walks in is going to enjoy it and appreciate it. And lo and behold, I make the case and we sell 3 things out of the case the very next day. And then I'm like, oh no, my display.
Your Monday's gone.
Yeah, it's ruined. But then I think about it and I'm like, well, it's meant to be bought. And it's meant to enjoy while it's here. But everything's meant to go to a good home. So yeah, Marvel Legends have taken off too, and that's a mainstay. People will never stop looking for Marvel Legends. As far as the heavy hitters go, I'd say that's probably like the 5 or 6 items that really have done it for us.
Awesome. Yeah, and speaking of the front of the store, my wife, last time we walked in, she, I guess, is my favorite part because there's always something she's going to find in there, or that, it's hidden away. There's always a hidden gem.
All the pop culture items. Yeah. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I've enjoyed stocking the shelves for everybody. It's been
awesome.
Neat.
Yeah, it makes sense because you have a nice display. Everything looks like, you've got your Best Bin display, you've got your Jabba's Palace display, and if you consider it all part of your collection, I mean, that's what we do as collectors. We kind of set things up nicely. So
I take a lot of pride in how everything is displayed in here. Obviously, it's just the 2 of us, so it's very hard to make everything look absolutely magnificent. But when I really put my mind to something, like the vintage Star Wars, if we get a massive collection in, and I'm going through and I'm pricing everything, I'm going to take out everything that I haven't cleaned, and I'm going to clean it. I'm going to price it accordingly. I'm going to reevaluate the figs, and I'm going to pick out the best ones of each fig, and I'm going to piece them accordingly, put accessories to them, and like I take really, really big pride in our vintage Star Wars stuff. It's my favorite thing in the store. When we first opened the store, he said, well, where do you want to put stuff? And I started thinking immediately, and I knew that I wanted the Star Wars section to be the biggest one in the store.
We appreciate that.
I'm a Star Wars guy, so I knew I wanted it to be the biggest section in the store, and I had a layout in mind for pretty much every case that was going to go in here. And I'm pretty good about stuff like that. So when I do vintage Star Wars, I want to make it to where it's collector quality display.
Yeah.
So I want people to walk in and I want them to see all of the indoor stuff in one allocated area.
Yep.
I want them to see a Bespin display or a Jabba's Palace display, a Tatooine or Mos Eisley-esque display, Hoth, that kind of thing. I take pride in that. My dad has been doing it for 8 years, so it's not really on the radar for him. It's more so like price it and get it out on the shelf and get it to a new home.
Right.
But with me, I really enjoy making it look pretty for people. So usually how it goes, my dad has a lot on his plate. So he's throughout most of the days he's doing like administrative stuff in the back. He's got a lot of stuff to handle that I'm fortunate enough not to have to deal with at this moment. Mm-hmm. So whenever he does get around to pricing stuff, he usually just throws it on my table and then lets me handle putting it out. So I'll take everything out of a case and rearrange it and all that stuff as I see fit. And I think it usually turns out looking pretty good. And I take pride in it. So if anybody ever comes in here and they say like, oh, that doesn't look very great, I won't take that. I won't take that as an insult so much as a suggestion. Because if somebody's coming in here and saying like, oh, that's not very fantastic looking, then I'm just going to take that as a hint like, oh, maybe I should go and fix that case up.
That's a great attitude.
But I'm more so hard on myself than other people are, because other people walk in here and they'll go, oh my God, that looks fantastic. And then I'll be like, yeah, but it could be better. So I'm really harder on myself than other people are when they come in here and see a display, because that's my favorite thing about it. I love making it look good. So
Right.
So as I was walking and looking at all the displays and stuff for Star Wars, I didn't see any, well, besides that one, the Farm Boy Luke. Is that one selling pretty fast?
Yeah, Farm Boy Lukes have sold tremendously. It almost seems like when we get one in, we can't keep it.
Yeah.
So I would think that that's for two reasons. One is when my dad moved up here, everything was priced according to his store down there, so we didn't worry about repricing stuff. I mean, it's all meant to go to a good home. If somebody comes in here and they get something for a great deal, that's cool. That's great. We don't take it to heart. That's awesome. But another reason that I would say is because everybody has a saber. Everybody has either a loose Luke or a loose saber, and they need the other matching piece. Well, all the Farm Boy Lukes that we started out with, they didn't have the sabers. So everybody was coming in here, and everybody that had a saber at home was saying like, oh my gosh, that's great. I can get a Farm Boy Luke for $25, which is awesome. A really clean one too. So, Farm Boy Lukes were sold pretty quickly. And I would say those two reasons are probably why. But we're going to get more. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
It's rotation. Yeah, exactly. Things come and go. So it's only a matter of time till we get more. But as far as Farm Boy Lukes go, that I believe is the only one that we have in the store currently.
It's a pretty special one.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that one that's sitting in the case.
Yeah, I figured that's probably where you were going with that, Jason.
Yeah.
So we were fortunate enough to come across an early bird set from 77. So that Farm Boy Luke is a double telescoping. As far as I'm aware, the double telescoping Luke only came out in the early bird. The only double telescoping that was released in the first 12 were the Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. Well, those basically stopped production incredibly fast. So when I was going through this stuff, I pulled out the Luke and I took a look at it, and just something about it was different. Mm-hmm. And then I kind of looked at the lightsaber and I noticed that there was a little hole in the saber, and I was like, that's interesting. So I lifted up his arm, and when I saw the hole, I touched the tip of the saber and I moved it like a centimeter, and I was like, "Oh my God, is that did we really just stumble across this? This is crazy." And I immediately went to go look for the other pieces, because I was like, "What are the odds? There's no way that there's a double telescoping Luke in here, and none of the other three." So I was going through the cases, and I pulled out a Chewie, and sure enough, I was like, "He's got a blaster. Please be the green molded blaster." And I shined a light through it, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's a green bowcaster. This is fantastic. This is awesome." And I was like, 2 pieces? Gotta have the other 2.
Right.
Sure enough, pull out the R2, and poof, Dark Dome. I was like, "Oh my God, this is beautiful. This is fantastic." So we came across an early bird 77 Kenner set, and that's awesome. And they look great. Mm-hmm. Displayed. I have them sitting in front of an old vintage lunchbox with thermos, and and an R2D2 inflatable bot bag that's still in the box, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah.
They look great. I love them, and so far everybody that's come in here is like, do you really have an early bird set sitting in here?
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, yeah. Yeah, we do. You just really never know what you're going to find whenever you come in here.
Yeah.
I mean, stuff is always revolving. We're always putting something out. So all the Star Wars guys that have come in here, their mouths basically drop because for a lot of collectors, even the hardcore collectors, a lot of them don't have an early bird set. So for them to come in here and see it and just absolutely gasp at the fact that we have one in store, because a lot of them are seeing it for the first time in person. And that's pretty cool. That's awesome. And I like thinking that we'll have more of those come in the store for the next generation of people, or the next people that find out about us to come in and see eventually.
Yeah.
And then another pretty special piece that we have is a blue snaggletooth. We have a blue snaggletooth in here right now. Usually when you see those, the silver on the boots, especially on the toes, is very rubbed.
Yeah.
Our boots look pretty good.
Yeah, that's a pretty damn clean blue
Very
snag.
beautiful boots.
Yeah.
Pretty good looking.
I've never been so enchanted by boots before in my life. Those are good looks.
Yeah, they're pretty beautiful. Yeah, we have quite a few vintage Star Wars pieces in here that are pretty good. Pretty hard to find.
Any other trends that you're noticing with vintage Star Wars? Anything that doesn't stay, or anything that's just sitting?
Man, that's a good question. Everybody always needs stormtroopers.
Yeah, you can never have too many of those.
Never have too many of those, because army building is a fascination.
Yeah.
And it really doesn't matter which era you collect.
Yeah.
It could be Kenner. It could be Power of the Force, late 90s stuff. It could be any of the lines from Hasbro. But everybody army builds. Right. So stormtroopers, no matter what it is, fly off the shelf. Pretty much any of the army building type stuff, everybody's always looking for them. It doesn't matter what it is. Tuskens, because they travel in numbers.
Right.
Single file.
Gamorreans.
Yeah, I saw you had a ton of Gamorreans.
Yeah, a lot of Gamorreans. Pig people, man, they're they're cool. Everybody that has a Rancor needs a Gamorrean to stuff in its mouth. Right. So, Rebel Commandos, Indoor Commandos, those are pretty good. Snowtroopers sell really fast, especially if they have the comma and the rifle. Mm. They'll sell like crazy.
Maybe I don't know. What's the comma in the rifle?
The comma is the waist cape.
Oh, okay. Okay.
In canon, it's called a comma.
Okay.
I'm one of those guys. It's like, so we have the older generation that walks in here, and no offense to you guys, I don't mean to be rude. No, I'm a younger person, so we have the guys that grew up with the 77 through 83 movies, mm-hmm. and they come in here and they say, "Oh man, could I get that Hammerhead?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, the Momon Nadon. I'll pull out that for you." And they're always like, "Who?" And I'm not trying to do it to be. I'm not trying to do it to be
showboaty.
A show. Yeah. Right. I'm more so doing it to share knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I never say it coming off like a mean guy. I just say it because I want people to know, like, yeah, Hammerhead is an acceptable name for it, but like some people aren't gonna know Hammerhead, but they might know him as Momon Nadon.
Yeah.
Or Ponda Baba, or pretty much anybody. There's names for a lot of vintage Star Wars characters. Pruneface or a Marco. Like there's a lot of
Walrus Man.
Yeah.
Ponda Baba.
There's a lot of characters that some people might not know the official name of.
Yeah.
Because they weren't around. The official name wasn't made when they came out with the figs. So I'm one of those people that's gonna pull out a fig and call it by name. So that's
Snowtrooper cell.
The symbol of self, is it a Bantha skull or a Mythosaur skull?
It's a Mythosaur.
Okay.
Yeah, it's or Mythosaur. It's pronounced both ways, but
I still call it a Bantha skull.
It's technically it's a Mythosaur skull.
Yeah.
But to each their own.
Right.
but officially.
Right. I just had to ask you.
At the end of the day, it's still a cool symbol.
Right.
It's an awesome symbol.
As he's wearing a Boba Fett shirt.
Yeah, and Boba Fett and Han Solo and Carbonite socks.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Yeah, I go all out.
Yeah.
So, signature olive green and maroon because that's Boba Fett.
A uniform for a toy store.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. I have to wear nerd shirts when I'm in here.
So I also heard that you had a yak face for 4 hours. Is that the fastest you've ever sold something in the store?
No,
You had
it's
something
not the
faster.
fastest that we've sold something in the store. We actually quite commonplace sell stuff before we even put it out.
Oh,
Wow.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because somebody will come in here asking for something, and my dad's not so much of a fan of selling something before we get to put it on the floor because then people can't see it and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But the whole goal for me is to get it to a good home. And if somebody's out there looking for it, then that's the sole purpose. So depending on what it is, if it's a very sought after item, we're probably going to hold it before we want to put it out on the floor so people can see it and appreciate it. But if it's a Marvel Legend that somebody's looking for, we're going to come across those. It's no big deal. We're going to get more.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, oh man, I remember taking one of those in 2 days ago, and I'll go back there and I'll find it. Speaking of going back there, a lot of the times, like this morning actually, somebody came in and was looking for old 60s Action Man stuff. Well, we have some Repro Action Man in the back in a box. And my dad was digging around back there for like 10 minutes, and he came out and he said, "Do you know where the Action Man stuff is?" And I was like, hey, "Give me a second." And he was like, "I swear, if you walk right to this box and you pull out this box, I'm going to be so mad." Sure enough, I went back there and I went right to the box and I pulled it out and I was like, "There you go." And I just kept going on about my day, doing my doing my thing. The yak face actually. So we got it, put it in the case. It was great. It was awesome. It's the first yak face that I've come across in person. It was great to have while we had it, but there is a gentleman who is actually part of your group.
Yep.
Yeah.
That I'm a part of as well, in our group, I guess I could say. Very nice guy. Lewis and April, they're very, very good people.
Yep, they are.
And he came in here because he was talking to Martin Gillard at Toylanta. And he said, "Martin, would you happen to have a yak face? It's the last one I need." And Martin said, "I don't, but I happen to know a couple gentlemen that do." And we were 10 minutes down the street from the show. And Lewis came in here and he walked right over to the Star Wars. And he starts looking at this case. And I could only assume, like, it's got to be the yak face. So I asked him, I was like, would you like to take a look at a certain fig in here? And he was like, "I really like that yak face in there." And I was like, "Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one." I put it out. I put it out the night. So we closed, and then I put it out because I was afraid that if I put it out during the day, somebody would come in here and snatch it immediately. And the very next day, he came in here and he was staring at it through the glass, and I was like, "Sir, could I ask your name?" And he said, "Yeah, my name's Lewis." And I said, "Well, Lewis, would you like to take a look at it?" And he was like, "I can hold it." And I was like, "Well, yeah. I mean, it's a toy. It's a collectible, but it's a toy. It was meant to be played with. It was meant to be displayed. Whatever. It's already open. It's just in a case. It's in a cylinder case. Yeah, you're more than welcome to take a look at it." And he said, "Oh man, that'd be great." So I took it out of the case and I let him take a look at it, and I wasn't hovering over him or anything. I just let him do his thing, and I was sitting in here working. And he said, "Man, I got this amount of money in my pocket, and you can have it right now." And I was like, "Man, it's a yak face. We're always willing to wheel and deal, but I can't take that amount for it." And then he went outside, or he pushed it back to me, and he said, "Oh, man, well, thank you. I appreciate it." So I put it back in the case, and he walked out. About 5 minutes later, he returned, and he said, I gave him a price that we could do for him. And he returned, and he said, "My wife gave me permission to do that, which is something that you expect.
Right.
The boss's approval.
Yeah, the boss's approval, and sure enough, he said, "Man, my wife said I could do that." And then we got up to the counter, and we're always willing to work with people.
Yeah.
So we got up to the counter, and he said, "Man, I'm really thankful that you guys were willing to give me a little bit of a break on it. This is a really special fig for me." And I said, "Oh, well, how so?" I mean, I know it was special. Yak Face is, European exclusive, hardly ever seen in the States kind of thing. But, and then he pulled up a picture on his phone, and he showed me his display that he has. And I was looking at it, and I was like, "Man, that's beautiful." And then I saw one hole. I saw one hole in his display. And I was like, "Oh, man, no way."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Yeah, this was the missing piece. This was it. Like, this was my holy grail. This was the only thing that I was after." And as soon as he told me that, I was like, "Yeah, that the price that we gave it to him for was no problem. No problem at all.
Mhm.
That was the last thing that he needed for his collection. And that to me just made my whole month. I mean, that was awesome. Stuff like that happening.
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds that we would have the figure that he was looking for, and that he lives in our area and came in here for it? And, it's awesome. That stuff right there is great. So thank you, Lewis, and we appreciate you. And we appreciate you too, also, April. But thank you guys very much for coming in here.
Yeah.
And it was very nice meeting the both of you, and we look forward to every time you come in.
Right. And she was walking around that whole Saturday with it in her pocket at Toylanta. She's like, "I'm not leaving this thing in the damn car. It's staying with me."
Yeah, that was probably wise. That was probably very wise, because if people knew that was in the car, I would imagine that a car would have been broken into.
Right.
So, I was told that he came in here a few times after that, and I was told that he was parading it around at Toylanta, because he left Toylanta to come here, buy it, and then went back to show it off for people. And that was just so awesome. I loved that. That was great, because he came back in and he told us that, and then April told us that, and then we had a friend of ours, and I'm assuming a friend of you guys, Joel Doyle. He came in here and he was like, "Oh yeah, dude, Lewis was so happy with that thing," and Martin also said, like, "Man, he was so proud of it." And man, to hear that stuff and to know that we were able to give somebody the opportunity to find that kind of happiness, that just blew me away. That was awesome. That's why I do it. That's why I told my dad that I wanted to do it with him. Because he got to experience that for 8 years. He got to experience the making people happy, making their year, making their month, making their life kind of thing. I did. So for me to be able to experience that was really special. And I take a big amount of, not pride, but I'm very gracious for it, very thankful.
All right.
How do people find you?
Yeah.
You're just on Facebook right now?
So currently we have a Facebook and an Instagram. The Facebook is Second Chance Toys and Collectibles. Second, 2ND, Chance Toys, and the and is an ampersand. And then Collectibles with an I at the end. Don't spell it with an A, because there's two different kinds of collectibles. So it's Collectibles with an I. And then our Instagram is just Second Chance Toys, 2ND, and then everything else is lowercase, Chance Toys. Yep. So we're on Facebook and Instagram, and I don't know, maybe eventually we'll have a website, but we're just so new. To tell you the truth, we never plan to sell online, because the issue with that we find is, if we start selling everything online, then what's going to be in the store for people to come and see in person?
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what it's about for a lot of people, is, especially with COVID, everybody was trapped at home. Nothing was open. Nobody could go out and hunt for their toys and collectibles. So for us to put everything online and sell around the world, around the country, whatever, that just doesn't really sit well in our minds, because the whole point of us being here is for everything to be shown physically. We want people to come in and go, "Oh my God, I had that when I was a kid," and freak out over their childhood. And we never press anybody to buy anything.
Mhm.
We don't hover over anybody. And I guess we're a quote poor salesman for that. But
But you seem to be doing fine.
You're right. Well,
yeah.
I do have to say, I love when I come in here and you guys learned my wife's name. You learned my name. I
Right.
walk in the door and you're like, "Hey, Glenn," and you don't even see me, but you hear me.
Yeah, I hear your voice, and it's very.
I walked in and you were like, "Hey, Jason." I'm like, my wife was with me. I'm like, I swear, I've only been here like 4 times.
Well, that's it's so this might not be great for the podcast or anything, but so growing up, I played football. I played a lot of sports. I'm a very athletic person, and football was my main sport. Well, I got a traumatic brain injury sustained in football. I was medically disqualified from contact sports. So my memory isn't exactly what it used to be. So I used to be good with names and faces like night and day.
Mhm.
And once I sustained that freshman year of high school, names for me kind of went in one ear and out through the other. So one of the tasks that I gave myself when we opened the store is I'm going to try and be personable and know every single consistent customer that comes in here by name. I can remember a face. That's easy. I can remember what somebody's into, what they buy. That's easy as a seller. But to remember somebody's name, I feel like, is a very important part of what we do, because somebody can walk in and feel welcome, but when you know somebody by name, it really makes them feel like you're a friend or a extended family member. That kind of relationship that you build with your, I'd say, quote, customers. But we've actually established a lot of friendships through this business,
Right.
and I like to be personable with as many people as I can be. And my dad always says, like, man, I don't know how you do it. That's crazy. Because somebody will come in here one time and I'll remember their name, and because I practice it. Like a lot of people probably think I'm weird when they walk in here and I ask their name, but like when they're checking out, for example, Glenn, if you were in here for the first time, and you were checking out, I'd be like, "Oh man, thanks, Glenn. That's fantastic, Glenn. I appreciate it, Glenn. Have a great night, Glenn."
Yeah.
So the more I use their name with them, in any given setting, any given amount of time, the easier it is for me to acclimate to that kind of memory.
Yeah.
And that I do feel like remembering people's names is very important, and
Right.
and I take very I take a lot of pride in that. And I like for people to come in here and feel like it's a relaxed setting where they can come in and enjoy and not have somebody breathing over their neck when they're looking at something, So the name stuff for me is really important.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I tried to remember both your names the first time you came in here. Sometimes it takes me, the second or third try when people come in, but I always tell them, I'm like, I promise I'll get it. A consistent time, like a weekly customer. If you don't remember the name, then what are you doing?
Right.
That's poor etiquette in my mind. So yeah, the name stuff is really important for me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, Chance, I appreciate you. We're going to let you get some sandwich.
Yeah.
I appreciate you taking the time, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And we just appreciate the opportunity for you letting us on the podcast.
Yeah.